Language that sounds like civil war in Minnesota. What really is happening in Texas, in Florida, in Minnesota when it comes to ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, DHS? The border czar, Tom Holman. It is Will Cain Country at the Will Cain Country YouTube channel, but always available by subscribing and following us at Spotify or on Apple. President Donald Trump today posted lengthily about Minnesota. At the end of his post on Truth Social, in all caps, President Trump said, "Fear not, great people of Minnesota. The day of reckoning and retribution is coming." Joining us now to hang out on Will Cain Country is White House border czar Tom Holman. Tom, how you been? Good to see you.
Doing great. A little Waylon Jennings or Merle Haggard wouldn't hurt in the beginning of the show, Will, but the music was good.
You are right at home, my friend. If that's what you request, then outside of the money we would have to pay to BMI or some other rights organization, you've made the right request. You went to the jukebox and you hit the right button. Waylon Jennings probably is my number one. So it's good to know the man in charge of the border also loves Waylon.
Yes, sir. Waylon's I think one of the greatest country singers of all time. Beautiful voice. Great guy.
I think the greatest. And Tom, I'll give you a little music recommendation. I don't know how much you keep up with modern day country music, but we're about 5 to 10 years in the making of this, but there's this retro renaissance. You know, right now some guys are doing some 90s country renaissance. There's Zach Top, who sounds a lot like Randy Travis or Alan Jackson. But before that, you had guys like Sturgill Simpson or Jamie Johnson, who sound a lot like Waylon Jennings. And so if you're looking for a little reboot, and there's no replacing Waylon, but if you're looking for something that sounds similar, check them out. Check out, well, Sturgill Simpson won't like you, Tom, but that doesn't preclude you from liking him. I'm positive that he's not a fan of Tom Holman.
That's all right. That's all right. I love country music, and I'll listen to it.
That's right. That's how I feel, too. You don't have to like me for me to like you. If I did that, then I wouldn't be able to watch many movies or listen to much music. Tom, I am curious what you think or what you know the president means when he posts to the great people of Minnesota, "Fear not, the day of reckoning and retribution is coming."
It's coming, and it's coming more. We're doubling down in Minnesota. We're we'll send more agents there. And not only to continue arresting the worst of public safety threats, but to arrest agitators that cross the line. Yeah, you can protest all you want. You have that constitutional right. But when you cross that line of impeding, interfering, and putting hands on an ICE officer, you're going to jail. You're going to be federally prosecuted and going to jail. So we're actually sending more agents there to do exactly that. So we're not overwhelmed. So when a situation happens, they surge and start putting hands on our ICE officers and openly impeding, standing between us and the bad guy, they're going to be arrested. And we got more resources on the ground to do that. We're not going away. Well, I just heard a politician just before I walked in there saying ICE has brought chaos to Minnesota. No, chaos brought ICE to Minnesota.
So the surge, Tom, is not just, as you point out, to focus on illegal immigrants, but to focus as well on the people that are interfering with law enforcement. Does that also include, when President Trump says reckoning and retribution, I do wonder about the role being played by politicians. And, whether or not that's Mayor Jacob Fry, Attorney General Keith Ellison, who conducted a press conference yesterday suggesting they are suing the federal government, they're suing DHS, or the governor, Tim Walz. I can't help but wonder if that reckoning also applies to politicians.
Well, I'm certain it does. I mean, I haven't talked to President Trump in the last a day or so, but I can tell you that, I've said for a long time that, inciting violence is illegal. And what concerns me most is that these politicians use the term murderer, secret police, Nazis, racists, And I said since March, well, I was out there wide and about saying if the hateful rhetoric doesn't decrease, there's going to be bloodshed. And of course, the left said I was crazy and a fearmonger. And unfortunately, I've been right. There's been a lot of bloodshed. And unfortunately, I don't think it's over. I mean, I would think they take, after what happened in Minnesota, the shooting, they take a step back and let the FBI investigation, work its way through. But right away, they're comparing this officer to a murderer and ICE agents to murders. And I just think that is just going to bring more hate. That's going to bring that small percentage of people that are half nuts anyways to take action against ICE. They feel emboldened. If a U.S. senator, a U.S. congressman, or governor can call ICE a murderer and secret police, that justifies what action we take against these officers. But I want people to understand, I was a Border Patrol agent. I was an ICE agent. These ICE agents, they're moms and dads too. They don't hang their heart on a hook when they come to work. They're enforcing laws enacted by Congress. For any member of Congress to attack them for enforcing the laws that they wrote is just ridiculous.
I've wondered, Tom, and you bring up your past service as an on the ground in the field agent. And I did this conversation yesterday on the Will Cain Show on the Fox News channel. When do I start seeing ICE agents, Border Patrol agents sue for defamation? Mostly I have been curious about, and really honestly, in some ways, imploring the Border Patrol agents who were accused of whipping Haitian migrants by former President Joe Biden and former Vice President Kamala Harris, among many others, to sue them for defamation. It fits the classical legal definition of defamation. And now, to your point, you have all of these, not just politicians, but now celebrities and sports figures like head coaches in the NBA, Doc Rivers and Steve Kerr, calling this agent in Minnesota a murderer. And I do wonder what is holding back these agents for demanding accountability in the form of a lawsuit for defamation.
I think things are so bad now, well, you're going to see that start happening. I've talked to a few people, and I think you're going to see it happening. And for this agent that was involved in the shooting, I think he's going to, wait for this investigation to pan itself out and wait for them to come out with actual facts, what happened. Then I think you may see him take action because I know for a fact, now he has to be in hiding. I seen a post this morning on the way to the studio here with his picture, wanted for murder. It's beyond the pale. So I think you're going to see more of that happening now because they're way over the line. We always go, immigration enforcement's always been controversial. It's always been, tug at the heartstrings. I get it. But you know what? They're way over the line now. So I think you're going to see a lot more lawsuits coming here in the near future.
So this agent right now, Tom, is in hiding?
Yes. For the safety of him and his family. I mean, there are wanted posters with his picture, his license plate number, and the death threats against him and his family. Well, just before I walked in my last interview, my chief of security showed me a posting wanting my family dead. They've lost their minds. I mean, you're talking about federal law enforcement officers out there enforcing the law, and you want to kill them for it. We're in a world right now where those who enforce the law are the bad guys, and those who break the law are the victims.
What is life like for you right now, Tom? I mean, you have that threat. Have you had to make significant adjustments to your life?
I got no privacy anymore. My wife has lived away from me for months because of the threats. But now that I have a full-time security detail, where she was in a different place. But then reporters started snooping around where she was, trying to find out who my two boys were. So we brought her back to the main residence. She's under security too. But I can't, she can't go to the grocery store shopping. I can't just go to a restaurant and eat. I mean, but if they think they're going to bully me away or intimidate me, it's not going to work. We're in this. We're in this for the long run, and I know in my heart what we're doing is right. I mean, all you got to do is look at Bill Malusian's post the other day talking about people who were taken off the streets in Minneapolis. Some of the child rapists. Who's going to stand between a law enforcement officer and arresting an illegal alien child rapist? It just amazes me every day that there are people out there willing to do that.
There's several things that we've now opened the conversation on that I want to follow up with, Tom, but I'm going to follow up with the most recent thing you bring up. Bill Melugent's post on the guys that you're arresting. And that is something that you have said a lot, Tom, that we are arresting the worst of the worst. We're arresting criminals. Well, that is something that Attorney General of Minnesota Keith Ellison challenged yesterday, and I want to play this for you. Here's what he said about who is actually being arrested by DHS.
They have detained law-abiding citizens, leaving them handcuffed for hours just because of the color of their skin or what they're wearing, or they speak English with an accent. And on January 7th, 2026, a DHS agent shot and killed Renee Nicole Good.
All right, Tom, you hear there. He suggests your standards for arrest in Minnesota are the color of someone's skin and their accents, not their criminal record.
Look, men and women with ICE and CBP, they go through Fourth Amendment training. They know exactly what's required to make an arrest. However, the Supreme Court just agreed with us just recently that reasonable suspicion is the federal statute that covers this. If you have reasonable suspicion someone's in the country illegally, it gives you authority to momentarily detain and question them. And that's what these guys are working on. Reasonable suspicion is a myriad of factors, extenuating circumstances that, you say, okay, this person's worth questioning momentarily, detaining momentarily, but they're not going to be arrested unless there's probable cause. That's what he needs to know. Hey, look, and I got a message for him. Why is ICE in Minneapolis? Well, first of all, we've been there for decades, but why is there a surge in Minneapolis? Because they're a sanctuary city, sanctuary state. If you let us into jail to arrest the illegal alien, public safety threat that you locked in a jail cell, give them straight to us in the jail rather than to release them back in the public. So you are forcing us to go into the community and find these public safety threats. Let us into jail. Stop being a sanctuary city, sanctuary state. More agents in the jail means less agents in the community. So you've set the stage for this. Not only have you set the stage for this, the Biden administration for 4 years released millions of illegal aliens in this country, many of them criminals that weren't properly vetted. They set the stage. We're just responding, trying to fix the mess that they created. So come to the table. Work with us. Help us arrest illegal alien public safety threats in the safety and security of a jail, which is safer for the agent, safer for the community, and even safer for the illegal alien, because anything can happen on a street arrest. So, they can help fix this if they work with us.
Okay, so let's stay on that note for just a moment. Yesterday in their press conference, Mayor Jacob Frey and Attorney General Keith Ellison suggested that the only reason that ICE is in Minnesota is because President Trump has targeted blue states with Democrat mayors and Democrat governors. They specifically said you don't see the numbers of ICE agents in Texas or in Florida that you see in Minnesota. Their explanation, because those states are red. What do you say to Ellison and Frey?
That's a bunch of crap. The reason is because those states work with us. Governor Abbott and DeSantis, they work with us. Law enforcement work with us. They're 287G partners. They work very, so we don't have, and I said from day one, all these thousands of agents we're hiring, where are they going? They're going to sanctuary cities because we know there's a problem there. For instance, I look at numbers this morning, my chief of staff gave me, over 450 criminal aliens were released to the street. They ignored the detainer in the past year. I mean, public safety threats, 450 just released to the street rather than working with ICE. And right now there's over 1,300 detainers pending with the state right now on criminal aliens, public safety threats. And we're asking them, please, release, when you're done with these people, release them to us rather than putting them in the community, putting the community at greater risk of crime and putting our agents at great risk. And look, in this whole game they play that sanctuary cities, we're a sanctuary because we're a welcoming community. We want illegal alien people to feel safe coming to the police to report either as a victim or witness of a crime. That is a bunch of crap because the victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy released back in the neighborhood either. And we're not looking to talk to the victim or witness. We want to talk to the person that you independently locked in a jail cell for obviously a public safety threat. That's who we want to talk to.
All right, I'm going to walk through a couple of things that I understand completely. First, Is ICE and or CBP operating in Texas, in Florida?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That was quoted by both Ellison and Fry. They also lumped in Utah. So that's a first fact check. The suggestion that they're not in those states, they are in Minnesota. They then go on to say there's greater percentages of illegal immigrants in Texas and in Florida than there are in Minnesota. I think the stat that they quoted was something like 1.5% of the Minnesota population is here illegally. So why are you surging Minnesota? They ask. And if I understand correctly, you're telling me, yes, it's true. Although ICE is present in all of those states, there is perhaps a disproportionate flood of ICE agents into Minnesota than there might be in Texas. And that's because you're saying local authorities in Texas help us and work with us. And in sanctuary cities like Minneapolis and states like Minnesota, they get in your way, thus forcing you to flood disproportionate number of ICE agents into those locations?
You got that exactly right. Texas and Florida honor detainers. We know a criminal, illegal alien isn't walking out of jail that we hand it over to ICE. It's much more efficient. And I've said from day one agent can arrest one illegal alien in the safety and security of a jail. Much more efficient. But when you release a criminal alien, like they're doing in these sanctuary cities, now we got to send a whole team to go, first of all, look for a guy that don't want to be found, then arrest him on his turf. We has access to who knows what weapons. So yeah, you're exactly right. We got to send. It's like you send most of the firemen to the biggest fire. Well, we know we got a problem with sanctuary cities. So we got to send more agents there because we're doing community operation, neighborhood operations, because they forced us in there because they won't give us access to the jail.
Okay, so in Texas, you're saying it works like this. An illegal immigrant is arrested. He is held in jail on a detainer. You can send one ICE agent to that jail, arrest that illegal immigrant, making your overall presence in a place like Texas less noticeable, less of a surge. But in Minneapolis, they immediately release that illegal immigrant. They don't honor your ICE detainer, and now he's in the community, and you got to send, I don't know what a team is, Tom, 10 guys to arrest one illegal immigrant?
It depends on the criminal history, but no less than 5 or 6 at a minimum. But you're exactly right. What you just said is exactly true.
Okay. What about the accusation, Tom, that you're not after criminals, that you're actually after, well, in the most extreme circumstance, let's go back to reasonable suspicion. Ellison says you're using accents and skin color. You said reasonable suspicion is a host of factors that go in. And I do believe the Supreme Court said you can consider those elements as part of reasonable suspicion. Are those elements enough? And by the way, we're talking about, with reasonable suspicion, we're talking about short-term detention. That means stopping somebody and questioning them, right? Yeah, not arrest.
Short detention.
To escalate it.
Short detention.
Right. To escalate to arrest, you need probable cause.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's not based on the color of skin, for God's sake. I mean, these officers, they sit back and they observe, right? What's this person doing? I mean, did you have MS-13 tattoo across his forehead? I mean, but it's a target. We're trying to do target enforcement operations. But, well, I said it from day one. If you're in the country illegally, you're not off the table. I mean, and a lot of people call them collateral arrests because they weren't the focus of the operation. They weren't your target you're looking for. However, again, places like Minnesota, you want less collateral arrests? Then let us in the jail. Because when you force us into the community, when we find that bad guy, many times they're with others that may not be a public safety threat, but they're in the country illegally, or they're coming too. We're not turning a blind eye to that. One of the reasons we have the most secure border in the history of this nation right now, because, of course, President Trump's leadership and the men and women wearing that green uniform, but a lot of it has to do with ICE. They've sent a message to the whole world. There are consequences for entering our country illegally. And we're going to continue to prioritize the public safety threats, the national security threats. The numbers I say, right around 70% of those we arrest are criminal. But if you're in the country illegally and we find you during these operations, you're going to be arrested. And we're going to give you a day in court. I mean, people say, well, 70%, what's the other 30%? 30% could be national security threats. Most of them don't have a criminal history because they're laying low to wait to do the dirty deed. A lot of them are fugitives. They had a due process. They were ordered removed by federal judge and became a fugitive. They didn't leave. You damn right we're looking for them. But in the country illegally, people would rather have them in the shadows being overworked, underpaid, being, living in the shadows, rather than giving them their due process, giving them the day in court. So we're going to give them their day in court. We'll give them their due process. They can plead their case to the judge. So this is about enforcing laws of this country. And I say, and that's why President Trump was elected. His number one issue was this, and that's exactly what we're doing, what the American people wanted. But the media is lying to the American people, saying we're separating families, we're deporting U.S. citizens, we're walking into hospitals and churches. It's just ridiculous.
Okay, you said 70%, and I heard this as well from Director Lyons yesterday. You said 70% of the people that you're arresting do have a criminal record or beyond illegal immigration, beyond simply being in the country or crossing the border illegally.
And that number,
Ellison said something
that
different.
number fluctuates. I've seen it, 63, 64, 72. So right around 70% is the average.
Okay. Well, now Ellison said something. He said 90. I'll play this for you, Tom. He says 93% of the people that you're arresting are non-criminals. Listen.
The administration says that they're focused on finding criminals. Worst of the worst, they say. But many of the people the DHS is arresting in Minnesota have no criminal history. That fits a pattern. In 2025, 93% of the people arrested by ICE had no violent criminal history, 65% had no criminal convictions at all, and randomly stopping people in the street because their skin color isn't the one that they expect or want, isn't doing a thing to help public safety.
What's wrong? Look, the bottom
Okay,
line.
so he says 93. He said 93%. I just heard it a second time, Tom. So now 93% don't have a violent criminal history. 63% don't have any criminal history.
Well, see, they're trying to confuse the American people. What do I mean by a criminal? What do we call a criminal for decades at ICE? You have a criminal conviction or you're pending criminal charges, which means we found you in the jail, right? That's a criminal. But they want to caveat the things. Well, we're not going to count DUIs because that's not really a crime, Mr. Homan. 13,000 people a year die from DUIs. I think that's a significant public safety issue, and that's a crime. And they're saying, no, well, he doesn't have a criminal conviction. He's pending, a trial. No, we found them in county jail. They're a criminal. So, so they want to caveat what a crime is. They want to caveat convictions versus pending. They want to play this game with the American people. The stats speak for themselves. I look at every morning, Will, on the way to the White House, I look at 22 pages of data of what's occurred in the last 24 hours. I'm speaking from data that's available to anybody. That it's there. But they want a caveat. He wants a nuance. Well, not a violent crime. To me,
right,
DUI is a violent crime. 13,000 people a year die from that. I've met a lot of angel moms and angel dads who buried their children because of a drunk driver, illegal alien. But I'm not even going there. I don't have to say DUIs. I'm saying about 70% are criminals based on a criminal conviction or pending criminal charges.
Okay. And I don't ask these, you know me, Tom. I'm asking these questions out of curiosity. I don't ask them out of judgment, because actually my judgment is whether or not you're a criminal, if you're in the country illegally, you should be deported. Like, I don't think this is a significant line. It seems like you guys do, the administration does, and I don't know if that's because of the public, what the public feels. And I've looked at all the polls on this, and it's pretty close. It feels like 50-50. Do you think somebody who's not the worst of the worst or doesn't have a DUI but is here illegally should be deported? And my answer to that, Tom, is generally yes, because you broke the law in coming to the country. But I recognize that the country is torn on that. It seems that even though it's a democratically elected law, the country appears to be torn on that. So I want to ask these questions out of this. Like, the accusations are, you guys, are you raiding Home Depots? The dudes sitting outside of front of Home Depot looking to be day laborers. Is that a target for ICE?
Are we doing operations that are near Home Depots? Yes. But it's just not, these agents sit back there. What people don't realize, what intelligence we have, what the surveillance we're doing, what the license plate numbers are people are picking up and leaving them. So, yeah, people are arrested in Home Depot parking lots. People are arrested all over the country. There is no safe haven for an illegal alien public safety threat. None.
Well,
and
okay,
remember
you
this.
said public safety threat.
Pardon me?
What do you mean by public safety threat there? But you said illegal. There's no safe haven for illegal alien public safety threat. Would you say there's no safe haven for illegal alien?
No, I would say there's no safe haven because we're going to enforce law, but we're still prioritizing public safety threats. And let me say something about what we just said. For the American people to say, why are you arresting this guy? Because even though he committed a crime, entered the country, he's done nothing since. If that's the message we send to the whole world, that you can enter the country legally, it's a crime, but don't worry about it. You can be ordered removed, but no one, just don't commit a crime and no one's looking for you. If that's the message we send to the whole world, you're never going to fix this problem. So the reason we have the most secure border in history of the nation right now is because of what ICE is doing. ICE is sending a message to the whole world. There are consequences. And people are watching these operations nationwide. They're not, the most vulnerable people in the world isn't giving their life savings to a criminal cartel to be smuggled in the country and put their life at risk. ICE is a big reason we have the most secure border in history of the nation.
Do you think, we've only got about 4 minutes left together. I want to hit two more things with you. Do you think, Tom, there is a future on your priority list where you do see a surge into places like Texas, because that's where a lot of illegal immigrants are, even though they may not be in jail? You know, Texas helps you with the ones that get arrested. What about the ones that are doing every other walk of life? So it's that person we talked about.
Well, we have done surges. I mean, I was out doing a surge right outside of Houston a few weeks ago. We actually did a surge in Florida on sex offenders. We also did a surge on both Texas and Florida on illegal aliens driving big rigs. So we are doing surge operations. But again, we got to focus our resources on the biggest problem areas, which are sanctuary cities. But I was just out in Houston a couple weeks ago. We did a surge operation outside of Houston, arrested several hundred. So we are doing surge operations across the country. But again, we got to focus on where the biggest danger is. And that's where the most public safety threats that we know are being hit in the streets every day. It's not a guessing game, right? Because here's what people don't understand. Right. Every criminal that's arrested by a law enforcement agency, they get the fingerprints taken, they run against NCIC. At the same time, they bounce against DHS databases. So we know that criminal just got arrested. He's sitting in this county jail. He bounces against our database. We show an order of removal. We show he's been deported before. We know for a fact that guy, based on biographic and biometric information, sitting in that jail right now, we know that jail is not going to honor detain. They're going to release him. We know that criminal aliens are going to be released there, so we got to have our resources there to go to community and find them. Fortunately, Texas and Florida and places like that, they work with us. We don't have to worry about that. But don't get me wrong, we're still doing surge operations in Texas and Florida. I've been there, and we've done them. But again, when it comes to public safety threat and national security threats, which is our priority, we got to send our people where the biggest danger is.
Okay. We got like 2 minutes together. I want to hit full circle here, two things. So let's go back to the reckoning for politicians. I want to hear what you hear when I play this, Tom. This is Mayor Jacob Fry of Minneapolis.
You're basically asking, can our cops arrest them?
Yeah.
From a legal perspective, yes. From a practical perspective, to state the reality, yeah, it does get kind of hard when they drastically outnumber us and they have bigger guns than we do. It does. And here's the thing. We don't want to create warfare in the street.
Okay, that's Jacob Fry on a podcast talking about your agents, DHS agents, ICE agents, CBP agents, and Minneapolis police officers. Can we arrest them? Yes. Do we practically have the ability? No, we don't want warfare on the streets. What do you hear in that, Tom?
First of all, shame on him for saying it. First of all, when you impede and interfere with an ICE officer, I don't care if you're a police officer or a citizen, it's illegal. It's a felony. But, if you went and talked to the street cops, they want to work with us. I'm in New York City right now. And, I'll be leaving the Fox studio here in a few minutes. Every uniform I see out in front of the studio comes up and shakes my hand. The street cops, they want to work with us because they understand rather than arresting this illegal and criminal 8 times, if we work with ICE, We don't have to deal with this stuff anymore, right? And so he doesn't speak for the street cops. Street cops don't want to arrest ICE officers. They want to work with us. We're not asking them to be immigration officers. We're asking them to help us with the criminal alien, the public safety threats, national security threats. Leave immigration enforcement to us. That's our job. But cops should be working with the cops. I think we learned after 9/11. There should be no stovepipes. So I've never met, and I've never met a uniformed officer who's never approached me and said, we're doing anything wrong. They want to work with us. It's the politicians who hate President Trump more than they love their communities. Because if they love their communities, they'd want public safety threats removed from their streets and work with us to do that.
I hear him begging for a standoff between the state and the federal government, him currying it, him inflaming the potential for a standoff between federal government and the state government of Minnesota, and I find it incredibly reckless, on the edge of insurrection.
It's extremely reckless and it's dangerous. It's just, like I said, I can't believe he would say that. I mean, his number one responsibility is protection of his communities. And why don't we sit down, rather than talking to other politicians, why don't he go down, why don't he go on the street, do a ride along with ICE? What kind of backbone do you got? Do you want to stand with an ICE agent in your community where law enforcement response is sporadic at best, where the death threats are, the assaults are up over 1,300%, death threats up over 8,000%. It's a dangerous job. It's nice to be able to talk in a podcast booth from his mayoral office. Hit the streets, see what we see. And look at who we're arresting from your community. You're welcome, Mayor. You're welcome, Governor. We made your state safer.
All right, Tom, I was going to ask you, but I don't need to ask you how old your boys are, but earlier when you're talking about your own life and the way this spills over onto your wife and, your family, I'm sure it's been very disruptive to your life and very unpleasant for your life. So I'll just say on behalf of a lot of people listening, we appreciate that sacrifice, appreciate what you're doing for the country, and I appreciate the time. I got to let you go catch an airplane. I'll see if I can buy some rights to Waylon Jennings for next time you're here, Tom.
Don't forget Merle Haggard. Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings.
Okay. You might be on the Mount Rushmore there. You got two of maybe the four on Mount Rushmore. Tom Holman, borders are for the White House. Thank you, Tom. There he goes. All right. There's a lot to break down there. A lot of thoughts. I see all of your comments coming in. A ton of comments. I want to talk about that. And plus, really honestly, an icon. We lost an icon today in the world of, I guess conservative talk, realist talk, comedy, cartoon. We lost Scott Adams. That coming up on Will Cain Country. Tom Holman, White House border czar, just with us here on Will Cain Country. Streaming live at the Will Cain Country YouTube channel, the Will Cain Facebook page, always available by following us on Spotify or on Apple. You can always jump into the comments section, both YouTube and Facebook, as many of you have. And Tinfoil Pat, 2-A-Days Dan are here as well. I want to share with you guys some of what the people are saying. Let's go to YouTube. Missy, X5UTP. Thank you, Tom, for all the good work. Good law-abiding citizens that pay attention to what's going on in our country. We stand behind you and ICE and are so appreciative of you all. Avoid Vanity says, I'm very happy with ICE in Minnesota. Carmela Canale says, hey, Tom, good work. Keep it up. Christine, great job always, Tom. And on and on. A lot of appreciation and respect for Tom Holman.
Yeah.
In the comments section. Anthony Davis over on Facebook, ICE are American heroes. And then, Dan, you said in the comments you feel like it's 85% supportive, 15% critical. Here's some of that 15%. David Walpert says, you could have handled it better, Homan. I don't know what he's talking about. I guess that incident in Minneapolis. And Jackie Valestra says, there are other legal ways to get criminals. ICE is going after innocent people. Get them out.
About 15% of the
All right, well,
people.
let's... That type of sentiment?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I found that clarifying. And I feel like I have needed some clarification on what ICE is doing. To me, the conversation that is just like, it's there, but it's never addressed directly. It is about what do you do with illegal immigrants who have no other criminal record or something on their, on their history. So Tom, I think, was upfront about that. They will be deported. The question is, are they targeted? Are you going after, let's just use the most extreme example. The dude here illegally that's running some type of, probably home, construction, landscaping, painting job, right? And may have been here for 20 years. Are you targeting them? Now, tell me if you guys heard the same thing. I heard no, not right now. We're not targeting them. But we will take them and deport them if they are part of a larger operation. And those larger operations right now are defined by going after people with criminal records. So this is where the administration comes in and says the worst of the worst, right? So we target the worst of the worst. And he said it's not a guessing game. We have intel. We know where they are. Now, in a place like Texas, because, some people have brought this up to me, I don't see big operations in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I don't hear about this raid or that raid. I've heard about a few, but not a lot, right? Probably not the way that people in Minneapolis right now feel. And his explanation for that to me is that's because if a criminal is arrested, the Texas jails and Texas police hand that person over to ICE, and then that person is processed and deported. Right?
Well, it's more
so you
common
only have
there,
to have
too.
one ICE officer. What's that? What's more common?
Dealing with border issues and illegal immigrants down there, the more than Minnesota, right? So it's been going on for long, and there's more infrastructure to help.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm just asking.
I think Tom's explanation is actually political. It's policies. The policy in a place like that is to cooperate with ICE. It's to honor. So if somebody's arrested and they go to jail, it dings. It dings to ICE. This person was arrested. This is what they have. This is who they are. And ICE makes a request, a detainer request to the local officials. Hold that person. We're coming to get them. Right? And he says, in that situation, I only need one ICE agent to go to the jail and to get that person. Okay? And what that means is the collateral scoop up of illegal immigrants who may not have a criminal record is not as common. Even though there may be more of them in Texas, it's not as common because that's not the priority target right now. The priority target is the bad guy. Now, the bad guy can bring a lot of other people down with him, who live with him, who associate with him, who work with him, who stand outside Home Depot with him, right? But that's not happening as much in a place like Texas or Florida because you don't have to go get them on the streets with a team of 5 to 10 dudes. You get them with one dude at the jail where they're being held. In sanctuary states like Minnesota, that bad guy is not held. ICE sends a detainer request. It's not honored. Minnesota's a sanctuary city. They let him go, right? They let him go out back onto the streets. Thus, ICE goes, well, that's a bad guy. We've got to target the bad guys. That's our priority. Now we got to send a team to go get that bad guy. And will there be other people when we're gathering them up? Yes, there will be, that we will get. And that's his explanation for the disproportionate, and that's the word. I don't know if there's more in Minneapolis than there is in, Texas, but disproportionate to the illegal immigrant population than that would be in Texas. That's actually a reflection of the fact that they are prioritizing bad guys. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
The fact that there are more disproportionate law enforcement in Minneapolis than there is in, say, Dallas is a reflection of their priority. Their priority is the bad guy. The bad guy in Texas is handed over. The bad guy in Minneapolis is released, and that means we have to put a team in. And now you've got the agitators get in the way, predicating the need for more yet guys to go in for protection. And he said we're also going to be arresting the agitators as well. So that tells me why when Ellison and Fry go, why do we only have 1.5% of our population that's illegal? Why are we getting this surge and you're not getting it in Texas? Well, the answer is because the priority is bad guys and you're letting bad guys go. That's how I make sense of that. Does that make sense to you guys?
It does. It's harder to explain to people because people need like a direct explanation. The biggest complaint I hear is what Ellison said was that they think they're profiling everybody, therefore not everyone's going to be a criminal because you're just profiling anyone that you think may be an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, the picture that's being painted is you're just walking up to people on the street
Yeah.
that have brown skin and an accent and scooping them up. Now, this is a legal issue. Like he said, everybody's trained on the Fourth Amendment, and the Supreme Court has weighed in. And for the record, those elements are not exempted from the recipe of reasonable suspicion. Like if race and English language skills are in the equation, that doesn't make the equation unconstitutional or wrong. But they aren't exclusively the equation. And I think, and I don't have the Supreme Court language in front of me when they've analyzed this, I don't think you can use that exclusively. Like that would be. Do you guys remember when this was done in Arizona a few years back? The Supreme Court weighed in. There was this is probably 10 years ago. This got litigated at the Supreme Court out of an Arizona issue. You can't use those ingredients exclusively, but you can use them as part of a larger thing. So he said we observe them, their behavior, their movements. We have intel on them and all these other factors, which can include race and English and all that, into understanding. But, I mean, you know, unless Tom was lying to us, and I'm sure if you're listening and you're from the left, you are going to, I guess, assume he's lying.
Yeah.
That's not the priority. That's not the priority. He's not saying we're not after them, too. We are after illegal immigrants at large, in general. But that is not where we're putting our resources. We're putting our resources to getting the bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, he explained it very well, and it's interesting. People won't listen to that because they don't want to hear it, because they have their minds made up already. It doesn't matter. They see the optics of, masks and don't ask any questions whether what's really going on or not. So it's a tough place to be in.
I do think that when he invites Jacob Fry to do a ride-along, or any critic, I think that's like a...
He should.
How instructive would that be?
Yeah.
How instructive would that be? Like, I think it's incredibly instructive to see what ICE in Minneapolis is dealing with in terms of the agitators. Like, the boxing them in, blocking them, whistling, interfering. Like, that creates this heightened atmosphere that when they do interact with somebody like Renee Good that ends up in that situation, she doesn't even understand the waters that she has just swum into, But she didn't swim into them. She helped create them. She helped create those waters. There was a fascinating video I saw by this guy named, I think it's Scott Libido. I maybe even interviewed him before. I think he's an artist. And he's got a big New Jersey type accent. And I never knew this about him. He said today, listen to me on this issue because I know more than 99.9% of people because I was that protester. He said, I've protested, thousands of times. I think he said he'd been arrested like dozens and dozens of times. And he said, every time I was arrested, and he had a picture of himself being arrested as a protester. He said, this is what I did. Hands behind my back, prepared to be arrested. He said, because as a protester, there's a line, the line of lawful behavior. And you've already stepped over that line oftentimes when you're a protester. And you know that, and you should know that. And then therefore, when that guy over there, and he said so well, like that officer whose kid is dying of leukemia, and that guy who got beat up yesterday during an enforcement operation, or this guy, and they all have guns, and the reason I don't have like stitches or that I'm alive is because I understood I was already in that atmosphere, and I had walked into that atmosphere. I had walked over that line. And the United States of America, we let you walk over that line to protest. But once you now meet with the law, you have to comply. Put your hands behind your back. Yes, sir, I got it. Not use your car to try to escape.
But there's a difference with this.
Recklessly and run into officers.
Because usually protests are against the government or an organization or something. These people are protesting those guys that are right in front of them. So it's a little different. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not, most people, when they're protesting police with George Floyd, those people are right in front of them. Those are the people that they want to scream and yell at. and get their message to. When people protest against a government and have bigger protests, they're not fighting those police officers, not going after those police officers. They are here.
Well, I don't think that's true.
I think so.
I don't think that's true.
But they're looking at these ICE officers, and
Well,
they're the ones they want to protest, and they're right in front of them. They're not protesting, just an administration. So it gets a little more heated.
What you're saying is a lot of protests are broader.
Yes.
But, I mean, we do see the heated interaction often in protests between, cops
But their fight's
and
not with
riot
them.
gear and
Their fight's
protesters.
not directly with them, I mean. This fight is directly with them. That's why I feel like it gets
which
more
makes
heated.
it even less of a protest, Dan.
Exactly.
And makes it more interferement,
Yeah.
with the action.
That's what they want to do. Instead of protest,
This
it's
is
interfering.
This is an interesting comment from John Kern on Facebook. If Democrats don't like immigration enforcement, then maybe they shouldn't have voted for a president that allowed 20 million illegals in. It is, like, what is, like, the coherent message here? So at that time, you didn't want border enforcement, right? You didn't want, I mean, look, let's be real. That was called racist.
Didn't Tom work for
Border
Barack
Patrol
Obama?
agents that were turning. I think he did.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
I think he did.
So, I mean, it's the same type of mindset.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's a self-fulfilling. So you didn't want border enforcement, thus 20 million people came in. Now you don't want immigration enforcement. So you just wanted all these people in this country illegally. Like that's what you stand for. This like flood of people in the country illegally. If you didn't want this today, then you shouldn't have wanted that yesterday. Yeah. You shouldn't have wanted the open border yesterday. Unless all you want is, I don't know, mass illegality, the decline or the denial of the nation state.
But
I don't know.
Like I said, the people I talk to, their problem is not, they're okay with getting rid of illegal immigrants and having a more secure border. They just have a problem with the optics of what's going on right now. That's really it. I mean,
well, I don't know what to do with optics.
I know.
I mean, I get it. I'm not denying that
yeah.
that's a thing, but like,
Problem
Howard
is the
Cook on
media
Facebook says
constantly
arrest
spins
every
things, and like, I don't know
Go
what's
ahead.
wrong with my voice, but the media seems to always spin things, and sorry, I'm getting feedback. Never mind, I lost track of thought.
good input.
It's just
I keep hearing myself.
being something. Okay,
Throws me
we
off.
hear you all the time. Howard Cook on Facebook says, arrest every protester impeding law enforcement. Arrest the Democrat politicians first. They are the biggest problem. Patrick, see if you can get your audio together, because I do want you to come in here on this next subject. So here, Scott Adams, famous cartoonist, creator of Dilbert, later in his career, became a very outspoken political observer, was very early on the Donald Trump Make America Great Again movement. I'm talking about 2015, 16. Incredibly insightful, meaning everything Scott said was thoughtful. He really wasn't a bomb thrower or nakedly partisan or saying things to dunk on the libs. That wasn't his style. But he was also controversial because he would say things that people have deemed that kind of thoughtfulness is not interesting here. We don't want that here, or whatever it may be. A couple months ago, Scott Adams announced that he was fighting cancer. He continued to be pretty active on X. And it was announced today, Patrick, I believe, that Scott Adams has passed.
Yes.
Now, Scott, to me, I think I just described Scott pretty accurately, Patrick. Here's the truth. I probably read Dilbert a half dozen times in my life when I would open the newspaper back in the day and see Dilbert cartoons. I followed Scott and I saw his stuff. I'd see a clip here and there. I didn't listen to his show like from start to finish, really ever. I don't know why, just because there's so many things to consume. That's why it's not a rejection of Scott. So I feel a little bit ill-equipped to really make sense of what he meant And I know you were a big fan, Patrick.
Yeah, so I used to listen to a lot of Dilbert, or read a lot of Dilbert. Sorry, I'm thinking about this feedback thing still.
Just pull the headphones out while you talk.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see if we can do that. So I used to read a lot of Dilbert when I was a kid, and so I grew up, liking Scott Adams. But it wasn't until, he started really. He was a hypnotist. He was a trained hypnotist, and so he was a understander of persuasion techniques and things like that. So when President Trump was running in 2015, he was one of the first people to say, hey, he really has a shot at this thing because he understands how to speak to people and how to get across his message. And that turned a lot of people off, with Dilbert, because it was nationally syndicated. He got these massive speaking gigs. He would make tens of thousands of dollars for speaking publicly. Those all went away. And he kind of lost those because he supported President Trump and was honest about what President Trump, the impact that he was having on the election. And so, he wrote some books toward the end of his life that he wanted to have an impact on society. And one of the things I like to do for Christmas with the crew is kind of like find a book that I think is going to speak to kind of what we're doing. One of the ones I chose was his book on persuasion, Win Bigly, and because I thought it kind of explained where we're at now. And but even his book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Win Big, that's essentially his biography. And that's extremely impactful to me. I got his last book, Reframe Your Brain, right here on my desk. It's like he was just a master of bringing people together, and that's one of the things he was saying with his Coffee with Scott Adams was that he was able to bring lonely people together. So he's definitely going to be missed. I'm glad that I was able. Oh, there we go. I'm glad that I was able to keep it together because I wasn't earlier today. But if you don't mind, he did a thing because he's a hypnotist.
Do not hypnotize me.
Huh?
Do not hypnotize me.
I'm not going to hypnotize anybody. But he did a thing called the simultaneous sip before his show every day. And it was one of those things that bring people together. And do you mind if I say it real quick? Did anybody have a drink with them?
No. Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. If you'd like to take your experience to the next level, all you need is a requirement. A cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, a chalice, a stein, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. But that's him. I'm drinking water right now. And now, join me for the unparalleled pleasure of the simultaneous sip. And now, we're all bonded.
Okay.
The beauty of Scott Adams.
Interesting.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, that's great. That's a beautiful tribute, Patrick. I'm glad you held it together, too. It's interesting how the death of people that you do not know can impact you. And I did not know Scott. You did not know Scott. And you can almost predict who those people might be that have had an impact on your life. And even though you didn't know them, you're going to feel it emotionally beyond what you would personally, having not known them. And I get that was somebody for you. And I do know this, and my understanding is much more academic than it is emotional. He will be incredibly missed because he was such a singular figure. There's not like another Scott Adams waiting in the wings. There's not somebody else who's doing what he was doing, saying things the way that he was saying them. And so you've lost a real unique contributor to the American conversation right now. And I do remember Coffee with Scott. That was big during COVID, I feel like, right? That's when Coffee with Scott became really big. Everybody was at home on their devices doing that. All right, it's a tough transition. We were going to talk about the NFL playoffs. Let's just do it really quickly. Aaron Rodgers is out. The Pittsburgh Steelers are out. The Houston Texans defense is awesome. The lesson of this playoffs to me, and we reevaluate every year, is that defense is supreme right now in the NFL. From the Denver Broncos to the Houston Texans, your best teams. And I don't know if that's going to be good enough to overcome the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. I don't know if it's going to be good enough to do that, but I mean, I think I saw a deal like it's Mike Sando who does his quarterback tiers for The Athletic, previously for ESPN. There were no tier 1 quarterbacks in the playoffs. Wow. In the playoffs, they were all tier 2, 3, and 4. And he does the tiers by interviewing GMs and scouts and coaches in the NFL and getting their input and putting them into tiers. And, no Patrick Mahomes. I guess Josh Allen was the one exception. I'm sorry, Josh Allen was the one exception.
So I'm like, Josh Allen is...
Otherwise.
It pissed me off as a Jaguar fan. Because
there were two exceptions.
That team.
Stafford and Allen. Stafford and Allen were the two exceptions. Okay. Every other team was tier 3 or so quarterbacks.
Drake May, no?
Drake May.
Not yet. I'm sure he will be next year.
Yeah.
Would he be tier 1? He might be tier 2. We'll see how the playoffs go. That would be big. But yeah, I mean, Bo Nix is not. C.J. Stroud is not. Caleb Williams is not. Jalen Hurts was not. Who else? I mean,
Trevor Lawrence was not.
Jordan Love was definitely not.
I will say this: I was really tough on Trevor Lawrence. He did his own Josh Allen impression, where he came back twice in the fourth quarter with game winning touchdowns, essentially, only for Josh Allen to come back and do it to him. So, I mean, it was a bad game for him, but he did do that.
Brock Purdy's pretty elite, I would say.
I don't know.
When he was playing.
Dan, he's like the slowest burn for me ever. Like, I don't think he's in tier 1. Like, literally, the published list of GMs and coaches, I bet you Brock Purdy is tier 3, not even tier 2.
Get out.
But
you see his stats when he was playing?
That dude makes plays. Now, I'm with you. That guy makes plays. That guy is something else. But you don't get the sense that every GM would trade for Brock Purdy, and that their belief is that he would be a great quarterback no matter where he is, no matter what system. But
I'm
not dissing Brock Purdy because
I think it's because
Kyle
Shanahan.
Christian McCaffrey, but still, some of the plays he makes.
It's crazy.
Kyle Shanahan could take any bum off the street and turn him into a above average starter.
So you've got Bills and Broncos, Texans, and help me out.
Bills, Broncos, 49ers,
Patriots.
Seahawks, Texans, Patriots,
Texans
Rams,
and
Bears.
Patriots. Yeah. Patriots got something special right now. But that Texans defense, I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised when you look up and it's like, wow. What are you giving thumbs down for?
Patriots. I think they'll get exposed.
Patrick, are your kids going crazy or you have a cat that's being tortured?
Yeah, their cousin's over right now. They're yelling. I didn't think I could hear it a little bit, but I didn't know if it was coming over the mic there.
Oh yeah, we can all.
They're being
hear
a little
it.
feral. Yeah.
It is school day?
Yeah.
Oh, they're homeschooled.
They're homeschooled, so they're done. It's afternoon, so.
God, that must be nice.
You don't have to do as much busy work because there aren't 30 of them. So you just do what you need to do and then you're done.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. That's
great
the
to be
idea
a
of
kid.
homeschool. You can get
3
or 4. You can get it done in 3 or 4 hours. What took 8 hours at the other school with 25 kids in the classroom. All right, we appreciate you being with us here today. We appreciate Tom Holman hanging out with us as always. We love your presence as well. That means stick with us again tomorrow. We'll be back. Same time, same place. YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple. We'll see you again next time.